Remember Wonder Egg Priority? That anime that led my channel to greater heights than I've ever...
Ain't nobody trying to hear that bullshit.
Oh yeah, lost track for a second. Let's get to it. This anime is full of disturbing images and situations including rape, self-harm, pedophilia, abuse, sexual harassment, and other topics discussed by 14-year-olds. If you're not capable of watching something centered around these topics, then this anime isn't for you. Wonder Egg Priority was one of those animes that were gonna be a hit or miss, especially knowing that it is an original anime with no manga to its name. Wonder Egg Priority had a phenomenal start: mystery, action, finding yourself, saving a life. These themes were executed perfectly, until the ending, where they seemingly just pulled out things from their ass and handing us a setup that wasn't deserved. The special episode we got wasn't even connected to the cliffhanger the season gave us. I've watched a lot of animes with cliffhangers, but this was done very poorly, with partially to no effort in the final act. Well, it isn't fully because there wasn't any effort put into it. It's the fact that it put too much into one basket, to the point that it seemed like they couldn't make up their minds on what they wanted the final act to be. So they just half-assed every idea they had instead of actually planning out a proper send-off to these characters. You aren't supposed to give us a cliffhanger with so much ideas that can be utilized and end up not using any of those ideas to set up a second season within a special episode. They gave us everything and lost everything in the process. These characters had phenomenal arcs. They were on the right track. I'm very surprised on how badly this has gotten. I love to see a character's journey to the end. And with the ending of Wonder Egg Priority, I just feel empty. Wanting more, but also not certain if they should continue, knowing that they didn't do the characters justice. I just didn't want this anime ending up like Darling in the Franxx, starting with a phenomenal beginning, just to end on a horrible note for these characters that had so much unbelievably great story building in these worlds. It's better to give us a solid ending that leaves things to possibly have a sequel to them. Don't just throw stuff in our face and end it all. People that watch things like this need to be able to digest the information in front of them. Ai's journey should seem partially complete, but it really feels like they just forced an ending on her story before things started to make sense. The villains of this anime had a fire upbringing. Pharrell has one of the best and creepiest backstories to an anime character of this genre. Just knowing that an artificial intelligence killed someone who was pregnant just because it wanted to be seen in the eyes of a human is very disturbing. But that's what makes Pharrell a compelling character with the series. The other villains, on the other hand, they seem more undeveloped compared to Pharrell. That's only because the makers of this anime rushed a lot of story beats that would have changed a bunch of things for Wonder Egg Priority. We've gotten to see what these villains are capable of, but we do not get to see the full effect of what they've done. A lot of things aren't explained, and that's okay, because it leaves mystery for what's to come. But you just have to lay a solid foundation down for these characters. Don't just have them floating in space. Like, what if the Colossal Titan in Attack on Titan Episode 1 showed up, caused all this chaos, then disappeared and was never talked about again? Just don't hit the same, right? That is what it feels like for Wonder Egg Priority. And let's talk more about that special. Like I previously mentioned, there was no extension on what happened at the end of the season. Was there a time skip? Is this set in a previous time? And if so, why? They out here partying like nothing happened. There was so much tension in the ending to the point where I thought somebody was going to actually die. They get you so invested in these characters that you start actually caring what happens to them. And the second things go left, you wonder whose life is in jeopardy. That's what I call phenomenal character and story building. If an anime can make me enjoy watching characters and worry about what happens to them, it won. Also, seeing everyone's struggle through life felt real. Watching Rika contemplate about cutting herself was rough to watch and relatable at times, even towards people who aren't suicidal. But Rika goes through one of the best character changes in recent anime, and it's interesting to see how far she's come. Viewing how Ai deals with being alone, to having a friend group that cares and appreciates her, is just good writing. The character development is definitely there for these characters. Great mysterious world, lovable characters, so much potential, and the animation and the fight scenes are surprisingly great. Just look.
With a shot to the heart! Rika!
The animation in the special though, yeah, they ain't even tried with this one. The visual direction for this anime is outstanding. The color palette, the gradients, the use of graphic images when needed. It's just perfect. And they show us how Ai goes from the real world to this other world very seamlessly. Each setting looks different from the last. Everything is unique, even down to the character designs. For example, Momoe is a girl, always being confused for a guy, and constantly trying to change the appearance of looking male. But I'm not sure if she's even transgender to begin with. It's kind of confusing because they don't outright say it, but that's what makes it interesting, because you can't judge the character if it's shrouded in mystery. Nehru is a normal, non-social girl from a glance, but you can always tell that there's more to her than just being a girl that's kept to herself and stays out the way. Soon, it's revealed that she's not all what we thought she was. She's been genetically altered in some way, shape, or form. This, in fact, never changes the way she is viewed by Ai. Wonder Egg Killers are some of the antagonists of the story. They are the embodiment of someone's trauma. That trauma seeks them out and tries their hardest to eliminate them. The Wonder Egg Killers are shown in many different iterations, some more creepier than the next. But the most disturbing character, which seems to hint as him being the antagonist, isn't even a Wonder Egg Killer. It's Ai's teacher. He is Momoe's uncle. And what makes him a disturbing character is that he seemingly has pedophilic tendencies when it comes to Ai. He paints this painting of Ai, and the way he talks about it is very unsettling in many ways. Even though Ai is also in the wrong when she has some sort of feelings for Mr. Sawaki. It is said that Ai asked him out.
That's not how you felt when you asked me out.
But she overcomes these feelings by destroying his Wonder Egg Killer. The story of Wonder Egg Priority is very complex, and I know that I've misunderstood some scenes in the show only because they didn't flesh out every story beat, which leaves almost everything up to speculation. Hopefully, one day this series gets another season and finishes off what it started. I'd really look forward to it because of what it would be based on. Even if the last season had so much material bunched into one, that material can be used to drive this anime in the right direction if used perfectly. The villains had such a compelling arrival, and it has to be fleshed out even more in the next season. But sadly, it's looking quite unlikely that there's even going to be a second season for Wonder Egg Priority in the works. But if there is, I'm here for it.